You call it independence and being low maintenance. But the brutal truth is you're just abandoning people before they get the chance to abandon you. You're not antisocial. You just learned, sometime in your childhood, that people disappear without warning. So, you do the math first. You step back a little before they can leave. You'd rather leave than be left behind. You test who stays. You interpret a long silence as the beginning of the end, and, silently, begin to prepare your heart for a goodbye that no one has yet said. And here's the part almost no one tells you. As a child, you didn't choose this. You learned it from someone whose departure you never saw coming. If any part of that just landed somewhere quiet in your chest, do yourself a kindness and subscribe, because what we're about to uncover is something most people carry every single day and never once get to name. Because that early lesson, that the people you love can walk out mid-sentence, didn't just bruise you back then. It quietly rewired the way you let anyone get close for every year that came after the door clicked shut. As a child, you learned that people disappear without warning. Carl Jung. You're not antisocial. Watch what happens the next time someone you care about goes quiet. You don't just notice it, your whole body leans in. You scroll back through your last few messages, hunting for the moment you said the wrong thing. You start rehearsing how you'll be fine if they vanish, packing the bag before anyone's even leaving. To everyone else, you look calm, easygoing, maybe a little distant. Inside, though, you're already bracing for goodbye, and the strangest part. You've been doing this since long before you had the words for it. Here's what nobody told you. This isn't a personality flaw. It's not you being cold or needy or too much. It's a pattern, an old, intelligent one, running quietly underneath your choices. The way you keep one foot near the exit. The way you feel safest with people who can't fully reach you. The way affection sometimes makes your chest tighten instead of soften. You didn't decide any of this. Something happened, way back, that taught a small version of you a rule you never agreed to follow. To understand it, we have to go back, not to blame anyone, just to see clearly. Picture the child you were, somewhere around 5 or 6. Picture a person you loved being there one day, and then, not. Maybe it was a parent who left. Maybe someone who was physically present but emotionally gone, there in body, absent in every way that mattered. You didn't get an explanation. Kids rarely do. One moment the world was steady, and the next, a piece of it was simply missing. And here's where it gets quietly heartbreaking and quietly brilliant. A child can't process, they're gone, and I don't know why. It's too big, so the small mind does something genius to survive it. It makes a rule. If I expect the leaving, it won't hurt as much. If I never fully arrive, I can't be fully abandoned. That wasn't weakness. That was a tiny nervous system protecting itself the only way it knew how. The problem is, that rule never got the memo that childhood ended. Carl Jung had a name for the part of you that froze in that moment. The inner child. Not a metaphor for being immature, a real living layer of the psyche that holds whatever got too painful to feel back then. Jung believed the things we don't make conscious don't disappear. They run the show from the shadows. So that frightened kid, the one who learned that love can vanish mid-sentence, didn't grow up alongside you. It went underground. And from down there, it's been quietly steering. You can see its fingerprints everywhere once you know where to look. It's there in the hypervigilance, the way you track tiny shifts in someone's voice, scanning for the first sign they're pulling away. It's there in how you flinch at unexpected absence, how a missed call can spin you out for hours. People call you sensitive, dramatic, overthinking. They don't realize you're not overreacting to now. You're reacting, perfectly on time, to something that happened 20, 30 years ago and never got to finish. There's a famous study that shows just how early this wires in. In 1970, psychologist Mary Ainsworth ran what she called the strange situation. She'd bring a mother and a small child into a room, then have the mother quietly step out. No warning, no explanation. What she watched for was how the child handled the return. Some kids fell apart, then settled. But others had already learned something colder. Don't reach, don't hope, brace instead. They'd gone quiet, self-contained, protecting themselves from a leaving they now expected. What Ainsworth was watching, in real time, was the birth of insecure attachment, a child adapting its whole way of loving to fit a world that felt unpredictable. And here's the relief hiding in that. Those self-contained kids weren't broken. They were smart. They'd correctly read their environment and adjusted. The tragedy isn't that they adapted. It's that nobody ever told them they could stop, so they grew into adults with a guarded heart, mistaking an old survival setting for a permanent personality. You might be one of them. Here's one way it plays out, and it's sneaky. When someone gets close, really close, the kind that could actually matter, you feel a pull to create distance. You get busy. You go quiet. You find a small flaw to focus on. Some part of you would rather end it on your own terms than risk being left on theirs. It feels like instinct, like I'm just not that into them. But look closer, and it's not coldness at all. It's a child, still flinching at a closing door, and I want you to sit with something for a second. That move, leaving before you're left, it didn't come from nowhere. There was a moment, maybe many, you might not even remember, when staying open got you hurt. When you reached, and no one reached back. When you waited by the door for someone who didn't come. Your mind logged it, filed it under never again, and built a quiet wall around the part of you that still wanted to reach. But walls, it turns out, keep two things out. They keep the hurt out, sure, but they also keep the love out. That's the cruel arithmetic of a guarded heart. The same wall that stops the next abandonment also blocks the very closeness you've been starving for. You end up safe and alone at the same time. And the loneliness doesn't feel like loneliness, it feels like independence, like strength, like I don't need anyone. Learning to need no one looks impressive from the outside. From the inside, it's just a child who decided wanting things was too dangerous. Let me tell you about a person who lived this. Maybe you'll recognize the shape of it. A man in his late 30s, successful, the friend everyone called low maintenance. He never asked for anything, never seemed to need reassurance. In relationships, he'd be all in for a while, then slowly, mysteriously, start to drift, right around the moment things got real. He thought he just hadn't met the right one. What he didn't see was the pattern. He always left first, every single time. He'd been leaving first since he was 7. Because when he was 7, his father walked out on a Tuesday. No fight, no goodbye, just a closed door and a mother who never explained. He'd waited by that door for weeks, listening for a key that never turned. And somewhere in those weeks, a small boy made a quiet, lifelong decision. I will never wait like this again. So he stopped waiting. He started leaving. For 30 years, he mistook that wound for his nature, until someone finally asked him a question that cracked the whole thing open. Who taught you that staying wasn't safe? That question is the doorway, so let me hand it to you too. Who taught you that the people you love can disappear? Not to assign blame. Most of the adults who shaped this were carrying their own untreated abandonment trauma, repeating a leaving that had been done to them. The chain goes back further than any of us can see. But naming the moment matters, because the fear of being left isn't a fact about the world. It's a memory wearing a costume, convincing you that today is just like back then. It isn't. Here's something you can actually do with this, and it's smaller than you'd think. Next time that old panic rises, the spike when someone goes quiet, try this. Put a hand on your chest and silently say, "This is an old feeling, not a current fact." That's it. You're not arguing with the fear. You're just gently telling your nervous system the year. Because part of what keeps the wound alive is nervous system dysregulation, a body still flooding with alarm over a danger that ended decades ago. You're teaching it, slowly, that the door isn't closing anymore. And I know how strange that sounds, talking to your own body like it's a frightened kid. But that's closer to the truth than we like to admit. The separation anxiety you feel as an adult, the dread when a text goes unanswered, the spiral when plans change last minute, it isn't coming from your rational mind. It's coming from a much younger place, a place that never got reassured. So when you speak to it gently, you're doing the thing no one did for you back then. You're becoming the calm adult, the small you needed in the room. This is where people get it backward. They think healing means forcing themselves to trust, throwing the walls down overnight, white-knuckling their way into vulnerability. It almost never works, and it usually ends in a fresh wound that proves the old fear right. Real change is slower and gentler than that. It's not about demolishing your defense mechanisms. They earned their place. They kept you alive. It's about thanking them and then showing them, one small safe moment at a time, that you're not 7 anymore, that the danger they're still guarding against is over. Think about what those defenses actually did for you. The emotional walls? They let a kid survive a home where reaching out got nothing back. The habit of keeping people at a distance? It meant no one could get close enough to leave a mark like the first one did. The hyper-independence? It made sure you'd never again depend on someone who might vanish. None of that was dysfunction. It was a child engineering survival with the only tools available. The work now isn't to destroy what protected you. It's to gently let it know its shift is finally over. There's a moment that tends to surface when people start doing this work, and it catches them off guard. A wave of grief. Not for the relationships that ended in adulthood, for the original one. For the kid who waited by the door. For all the years spent bracing for goodbye, holding people at arm's length, certain that closeness was just abandonment running a little late. That grief isn't a setback. It's the feeling that got frozen back then finally moving through, finally being witnessed, usually for the very first time, by the only person who was actually there the whole time. You. And here's what tends to surprise people most. As that grief moves, the leaving first reflex starts to loosen on its own. You don't have to force yourself to stay. You just stop automatically running. You catch yourself mid-drift and think, wait, is this person actually leaving? Or am I bracing out of habit? That tiny pause, that flicker of choice where there used to be only reflex, is everything. It's the gap where a new life slips in. It's the difference between a guarded heart and one that's slowly, carefully, learning to stay open. But staying open is a skill nobody taught you. So let's be honest about how it actually feels at first. Terrifying. The first time you don't run, the first time you let someone stay close while every alarm screams leave, your body won't thank you. It'll panic. That panic isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's the sign you're doing it at all. You're walking straight through the old fear instead of around it, and each time you stay, and the disaster doesn't come, a small correction gets logged. Maybe not everyone disappears. This is how earned security gets built, and notice that word, earned. You weren't handed safety as a kid, so you don't get to just download it now. You build it, moment by moment, with every small risk that ends in someone still being there. A friend who doesn't leave when you're difficult. A partner who comes back after a fight. Each one is a tiny piece of evidence stacked against a very old verdict. You're not faking trust, you're slowly earning a new belief, one true experience at a time. And let me gently correct something you might be carrying. You may believe that because this started so early, it's too late, that the wiring is permanent, that you are simply an anxious person or a loner now. That's the wound talking, not the science. The same nervous system that learned fear can learn safety. That's literally what it's built to do. Inner child healing isn't about erasing what happened. It's about going back for the kid who's still standing at that door, taking his hand, and finally saying the words no one said. I'm here. I'm not leaving. Picture that for a second, actually picture it. The child you were, frozen at a closed door, listening for footsteps that never came. Now picture you, the adult, the survivor, the one who made it through, walking up behind that small kid, crouching down, and instead of leaving him there like everyone else did, you stay. You sit on the floor beside him. You don't rush him. That image isn't sentimental fluff. It's a real act of repair, and it rewires something. You're giving the past the ending it never got to have. Here's a practice for that, if you want one. Tonight, write a short letter, not to anyone now, but to the kid you were at the age it happened. Tell him what you understand now that he couldn't then, that the leaving wasn't about him, that he wasn't unlovable, that he was never the reason anyone walked away. Keep it simple. A few lines, and watch what happens in your chest as you write, "It wasn't your fault," to a 5-year-old who's believed the opposite his whole life. Something old tends to loosen there. Now, this won't undo decades in a night, and anyone promising that is selling something, but you'll start catching the pattern in real time, which changes everything. You'll feel the urge to pull back, and for the first time, see it for what it is, not truth, just an old reflex. You'll notice yourself reading a silence as rejection and be able to ask quietly, "Is that now, or is that then?" The separation anxiety won't vanish, but it'll lose its grip. It'll become a feeling you have, instead of a fact you obey. And the people in your life will feel the shift before you can name it. The ones who stayed despite your walls will feel you finally let them in a few inches further. The leaving first reflex, the testing, the bracing for goodbye, it quiets down, because the part of you running it is finally getting what it always needed. Not another person who promises never to leave, but you, choosing not to leave yourself. That's the turn nobody sees coming. You spent your whole life waiting for someone to stay. You were the someone. There's a particular freedom on the other side of this, and it's quieter than people expect. It's not fireworks. It's the absence of a low hum you'd carried so long you stopped hearing it, the constant background scan for who might disappear next. One day you notice it's gone. You're with someone you love, and you're just there. Not bracing, not packing your heart for an exit, not keeping people at a distance out of an old reflex. Just present, in a moment, without one foot already out the door. For you, that stillness is brand new. And trusting again, real trust, not the white-knuckle kind, turns out not to mean believing no one will ever leave. People do leave. That part of the fear was never a lie. It means knowing that if they do, you'll still be standing, because you're no longer a powerless child who needs them to survive. That's the self-trust that was missing the whole time. Not, they won't go, but I'll be okay if they do. When that lands in your body, the desperate grip loosens. You can hold people lightly because you're finally holding yourself. So much of what you've called your personality was actually your protection. The distance, the self-sufficiency, the way you brace for goodbye before anyone said it, none of that is who you are. It's who you had to become to get through something a child should never have had to get through alone. And the beautiful, almost unbelievable part is that protection was never permanent. It was a coat you put on in a storm decades ago, and somewhere along the way you forgot you were still wearing it indoors, in the warmth, long after the storm had passed. You can take the coat off now. Not all at once. That's not how this works, but a little at a time, in the company of people who've shown you it's safe. And every time you do, you give that kid at the door something he stopped believing existed. A world where staying is possible. Where love doesn't always end in a closing door. Where the unexpected absence that shaped your whole life doesn't get to write the rest of it. That story isn't over. For the first time, you're the one holding the pen. Because here's the truth that took you a lifetime to reach. The child who learned that people disappear wasn't wrong about his past. He was just never told it didn't have to be his future. And the moment you really understand that, something quietly shifts. The waiting ends. Not because someone finally came back through the door, but because you stopped standing at it. Acquiai vai a conclusando, puxando o reframe da autoparentigem, cardapio b. No 6. So let me ask you something, now that you've seen it. How many times have you called yourself distant or bad at relationships when the truth was a child still bracing at a door? How many people did you leave first just to beat them to it? Sit with that, not to punish yourself, but to finally understand the person you've been so hard on. That guarded version of you wasn't sabotaging your life. He was guarding it with the only strategy a frightened kid could invent. And here's where it turns. You spent years waiting for someone to walk back through that door and make the fear go away. The right partner, the friend who'd finally prove they'd stay. But the person the small you was actually waiting for was never going to come from outside. It was you, the adult who survived. You can give yourself, now, the steadiness no one gave you then. You can be the one who stays. That's not a consolation prize. That's the whole thing. I'd love for you to do something before you go. In the comments, write one word, just one, for the child you were back then. Scared. Loyal. Tired. Whatever rises first. Naming him is how you start seeing him. And if a name for that kid is hard to find, that tells you something too. It tells you how long he's gone unwitnessed. He's listening now. So is the part of you that's been so tired of running. Thank you, really, for staying to the end of this. That itself means something, because staying is the exact thing the old wound told you wasn't safe. You stayed anyway. Whatever brought you here, whatever ache made this land, I hope you walk away holding one quiet truth. You were never antisocial, never broken, never too much. You were a child who learned to leave before being left, and you can teach yourself gently that the leaving is finally over. If this gave words to something you've carried a long time, there's more of it waiting here whenever you're ready. No rush, no pressure. Just a quieter place to keep understanding the kid you used to be. And maybe, sitting here now, you notice something strange about yourself. That you can finally name the kid at the door, and still go stiff the second someone says something kind to you. Still glance away. Still rush to deflect it, brush it off, change the subject. Funny, isn't it? You can learn to let people stay, and somehow the warmth they offer when they do is the one thing you still can't quite let in. There's a reason your eyes drop the moment you're seen as good, and it starts somewhere you'd never think to look,